Welcome back to another episode of Just Say It. My name is Chase Davis, pastor of the Well Church, with Pastor Matt Patrick. Matt, thanks for coming on the show today.
Oh, yeah. Happy to be here, Chase.
We're trying to get out some episodes because we have really exciting things going on at the church, and we want to keep you all up to date, whether you're attending the Well Church or just watching online, whatever it may be. We're going to be going through an initiative, the 1010 initiative. We're going to be talking about that on today's episode. And keeping with that idea, wanted to let you know about a really special night coming up. It's going to be a worship night. We're going to celebrate God's generosity at us by being generous with Him and praying with one another. That's going to be on November 7th at 6 p.m. here at our church building, 300 South Broadway. We'll have limited childcare available because we realize it's a weeknight, and so wanted to provide that. So you got to RSVP to take advantage of it. If you show up with your kids and you haven't RSVP'd, you can just worship with your kids, which is great, by the way. But we wanted to provide that so there's no barriers. And if you want to get a babysitter, do that. Make it a date night. We're going to have a great time. Going to have some festivities afterwards, 6 p.m. November 7th. Also coming up, as you're listening, as the date of this is being released, Thursday. What's that date, Bethany? The 30th of October, we're doing a Theology on Tap here at the Well Church building. It's going to be on the Reformation. I'll be leading that. Hope to see you there. I think it's at 7 p.m. October 30th here at our church building. And then Sunday night, that's going to be November 2nd at 6 p.m. is Reform Femininity. And Matt and Ari will be leading that. Matt, do you know what you're talking about on that?
Yep. Christmas traditions, Thanksgiving traditions, how to cultivate stuff in your home if you weren't raised in a Christian home. All that kind of good stuff, how to navigate the difficulties of multiple families and where you're going to spend the holidays and all that kind of good stuff. And really focusing, though, on like that kind of why it's so important to build like a home that celebrates the Lord well, that is that watches football on Thanksgiving and eats food, and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, which game do we watch on Thanksgiving?
The Bengals are playing on Thanksgiving this year.
Against?
I don't care.
Well, the Cowboys always play on Thanksgiving.
They always play. I'm always stuck watching them.
We're America's team.
But the Bengals play now. We're like the Hillbillies team. You guys can be America's team.
Sure, you're the Appalachia team.
We're the Appalachia team. Everybody tries to say the Titans, and I'm like, no, they're too new.
No, we're going to offend
only one person in our church
only
likes
one person at our church likes them.
But I guess you could say only one person in our church likes the Bengals,
That's
too.
true. That's true. So that's coming up. It's also going to be what the women call this queso and flannel night. Flannel night.
Yes.
And they bring queso. So women.
Is it a competition?
No, it is. We have a competition to see who makes the best queso.
This will be great. I think being the only man present
at the event,
that I should assert my dominion.
This is a great idea.
And I should be the judge.
You should be the judge.
Yes.
Yeah,
and my wife's twins.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, you can't really go wrong with like the Velveeta and the
keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it simple. You don't have to get too creative. I know it's like not healthy. It's plastic, okay, but very good stuff. So 6 p.m. November 2nd, women, ladies, be there. If you're not part of the Well Church, you just want to come in for that evening, we'd love to see you there. To get some equipping on homemaking and traditions. Before we get into today's episode, we do not have a sponsor of the program. Instead,
if you'd like to,
we
would receive that.
We're going to get into our opening segment and talk about tweets. So, Matt, I think you have something pulled up of mine.
Yeah, Chase. At 6:19 p.m., so I'm assuming right after dinner, you sat down after dinner. I'm picturing you with a glass of bourbon in your hand, sitting in your chair.
Interesting.
On the 21st. Nice and relaxed, you're like, you know what I should post right now? I should post, Christians should never participate in demonic festivals like Diwali.
Oh, yes, I did say this.
Chase, would you please explain to our audience what you meant by that tweet?
Well,
it's pretty obvious.
Context matters. I don't know.
It does.
And you don't get that on social media. But the context is...
You got to be nuanced.
Yeah, you got to be super nuanced, always. Room for nuance. And so what happens on social media is you see these pictures pop up of like, I don't know, our president celebrating a Hindu celebration in the White House. And as a Christian American, you're kind of like, what's that about? Like, that's weird. Because Diwali is a Hindu.
Yeah.
I don't know much more than it's a Hindu practice. I think they light some candles. Mm-hmm. Somebody was trying to argue with me, like, we could actually, you use the paradigm of contextualization, redeem, receive, reject. We could redeem Diwali into Christ being the light that we need for the world. And I was like, please stop.
That was big for a while in missions world.
For a while.
Like, it was like that kind of idea.
That
of like,
horse is dead.
Yeah. and I've been kicking it for a while.
So I've also discovered, interestingly enough, on some platforms, I don't know what TikTok is like, because as I've already explained many times, it's government, communist, Chinese spyware, so don't use TikTok. Twitter is just, Elon spyware. And so somehow a bunch of people from all over the world, particularly one country in the Asian subcontinent of India, really have keywords. I don't know if they have notifications.
Be saying subcontinent.
Oh yeah, I know. They have notifications turned on, and so yeah, you get some engagement, and really crass engagement. It's the worst ones I just block. 'Cause I'm like, wow, I didn't know you could make pictures of Jesus like that. Yeah. Very blasphemous. Anyways, yeah, I don't think we should be celebrating pagan, demonic religions in our government. So
yeah, I mean, one of the key words in there, you said Christians should not do this.
I mean, educating Christians.
I mean, I think that to me, I'm like, when I saw that you had 31,000 views on that and all these, I was like, oh my gosh, it's to me, I was like, that's like saying Christians should celebrate Christmas.
Yeah. Whoa. That's
man.
Great. Well, I was going to find a serious one from you, but I'll pick a funny one from you. So you posted tips for lifting heavier.
Oh, yeah.
You have two here, okay? One is play Pompeii. This is a song, Hans Zimmer version on repeat. Play no other song. Clear enough.
Yep.
The second is imagine your governor has assembled a force to kill you and your people, and you alone can defeat them. That's it. You're welcome. This is your tip for lifting heavier from Pastor Matt Patrick.
Yes.
What did you mean by this?
I was tapping into, I think every man who lifts, if you're lifting heavy, so I'm currently in a regiment that is every set is to failure.
Okay.
So I hate failing.
Yeah.
And so I need extra motivation. And so if you can get an epic song building in your head, like Pompeii, the Hans Zimmer version, is all of that. It's a great song. It's beautiful. People should listen to it. I wish Hans Zimmer would do more of those, by the way, because it's great. But then you have to to keep yourself motivated, because you're in a gym, you're in Boulder. It's what's something that would fire me up that goes, I need to be stronger. And I think guys just naturally tend to imagine themselves being able to defend those that they love. And so just kind of tapping into that primal kind of thing. If you've ever had just epic music going, it just kind of puts you you feel like you're in a movie.
Yeah.
So you gotta tie that the visualization part of being in the movie with the music.
Yeah.
And so you just got to create the scenario. And so I just thought I see our governor almost weekly at baseball games, and so I think he'd be bummed out to hear that I came up with that. But in some respects, it works and motivates me, because while he has not sent out a hit squad to take us out, he has sent out hit squads in other ways to come after our way of life.
Our faith and practice.
And so it's an easy step. So you have to go what's one step that is actually I could see happening someday if people like Jared Polis finally got their way.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, it just, you lift heavier then.
That's great, yeah.
Because the enemy's coming, you must be stronger.
I know. Yeah, my goal right now is to be able to squat my entire family on my back, because I want to be able to carry them out of a house if it's on fire. That's how I motivate myself.
Oh, wow. That's a good one. I'll have to try that one out. Yeah, my maybe a little more dark.
Yeah. The dog doesn't get included in that weight classification, though. So,
no?
And it's unfortunate with children, they keep growing. And,
you're going to have to keep going up in that.
I know. I'm going to have to keep getting stronger. It's great motivation.
The other motivation I have when I go to the gym is that my grandfather, until his late 80s, did however many sit-ups and push-ups old he was every day.
That's great respect.
And so I'm just I have to be able to do this.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. People were built different a long time ago.
They were built different. Built tough.
Yes. So anyways.
Well, let's get into the 10-10 initiative. So you may have seen a video we put out. If we can put links in the show notes, we will. If not, go to our YouTube channel, and you'll see a video previewing the 10-10 initiative. We just rolled it out as we're recording this last Sunday. As you're listening, it's been 2 Sundays, and we kind of gave an overview of that. And basically what we're doing in this series is it's a discipleship initiative, a giving initiative, where we've done this before as a church and we're doing it again, where we're going to the Lord all together in unity and just going to the Lord with open hands saying, what is it you want from me, Lord? And that's really the heart behind the initiative, is for all of us to look at our entire life. And giving's included in that, but there's much more than that, where we're going, what would it look like to live submitted to the Lord? And our tagline with the 10-10 initiative is life to the full, legacy to the end. Our keystone verse that we're going to be coming back to is John 10:10. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy, but I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. And so we want all of us as a church, the Well Church, and we want all Christians, but this is particularly for our church, to really believe that.
Yep.
To believe that Christ came to give them life abundantly, especially in a world where it seems that life can be really challenging sometimes, and they're hard pressed, and we're beat down, and we struggle, and we're tempted, and we face financial uncertainty, all these kind of things. What does it mean to trust Jesus in all of it and live generously in the midst of it? I think that's a fair summation. Anything you would add to that?
Yeah, I think it would be helpful for people, because we don't get to do a lot of this on a Sunday or at the events, to explain a little bit of the why behind doing this. Why now? What's the purpose? And the funny thing is, we've been planning on doing this for a very long time. You like these kinds of things, you don't just throw them together last minute. It's a lot of work, and it's worth it, because when we did it last time, what we saw from our church, which is great, and I think it's important for people to know this, is it built a culture in our church of generosity and kind of a biblical understanding of generosity in all of life. And so what we saw out of that was, yes, there was some goals and things that we tried to do in that one, and that was all great. But the truth is so much of that just carried over into the life of our church, into us being a very generous church with ourselves, with other ministries, things that we can give to. And so we think that's important, and our church is growing right now. There's a lot of new people here, and a lot of them don't know these things. And so our responsibility is to shepherd well and to educate well and to bring people along. And so it's a great opportunity, whether you've already gone through something like this or you're new at our church, to really kind of just join in and to kind of a part of who we are. Like, I don't even think this will be the last time we do one of these ever again. I think it's a great thing every 5 to 10 years to do, to kind of equip your church well for what it wants to do. And for us, we're in a great season. We're in a great season. It's been hard financially. People know that. We started planning on doing this before we kind of got into a hard spot financially, where we found ourselves several months ago.
Yeah, I think it was a year or two ago we started kind of praying and planning this.
Yeah, and so it wasn't a response to that at all, actually. But it does come down to something I think is really important for us as a church. We've never been a church that is about like sitting on our hands or just kind of being content in a bad way. Like, there's good contentment, and then there's kind of like lazy contentment. And I think a lot of churches, when they move into a building and they kind of achieve something great like we did, the temptation is just to sit back. But what you and I talk about this all the time, and maybe you can share a little bit about it, is this idea is, for whatever reason, God has seen it fit to give our church influence in this day that outsizes our size. You know what I mean? Like, we have some good reach into our state, into other areas. Like, we just met with a potential church planter yesterday who wants to know how we're doing what we're doing. And we're like looking at like, we're not even a big church, you know? Right. And so, and then just bringing people, like, we're partnering with Victor Marks, his ministry in all of this. And when we started that relationship, we had no idea that he was going to run for governor.
Correct.
Right. And so a lot of things keep getting laid in our lap. And so we're going, hey, we want to fund our ministry well enough so that we can be ready to take advantage and step forward when opportunities come our way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are positioned well by the Lord to make a great kingdom impact, and we're grateful for that, and we don't want to squander that or waste that. God has entrusted us with stuff, our preaching, our ministries, and so we want to make sure we're investing well in those. And again, you know, there is money involved, but like, I think you said it really well on Sunday, or this Sunday that we kicked off the 10-10 initiative, where it's like, it's easy to focus on the money. And you've raised money for businesses. We've both started businesses. Money matters. But as pastors, our heart is for people. It's important for us to all go to the Lord together, submit our lives completely to Him, and consider and ask, what is it you're asking from me, God, in this season, whatever season you're in, and then corporately together, what is he asking from us? And so part of that, when we kind of wrote down some thoughts and prayed and talked with the elders and others, we wanted to make investments in our church because we've got this great property, but as anyone who visits knows, we've also got a dirt patch out front. We've got things that can be greatly improved. We need the stripes painted in the parking lot. There's lots of room for improvement with what God has already entrusted us with, and so part of the kind of increasing the giving will definitely go to landscaping and taking care of the building, security, training for guys at our church, all that stuff that's very important in our day and age. And so that's part of what we're looking at kind of investing in as we see God bless our church.
Yeah, and I think things like people might wonder, like, why is that so important? Who cares if you have a dirt patch? And we would say that God cares about aesthetics and how things look. We're not trying to be like overly fancy or anything, but it's something that our church, even in building this building that we're in and we're recording this podcast right now, is it was really funny. This is kind of a funny story. We should share it with people. Is when we were meeting with some people who are designers and architects, and it was blowing their mind that they're like, you don't want like a black box? Like, we're like, no. Because they wanted, like, all their understandings of church was kind of like the modern evangelical understanding of it. And to us, that just kind of lacks a lot of beauty. And now if somebody chooses to do that, God bless them. I hope they're successful and people meet the Lord. But for us, it's kind of harkening back to a day when aesthetics of facilities and the property, it kind of is worthy in a sense of what we're there worshiping. It mirrors that in a sense. It communicates that we have an orderly God, a God who loves beauty and design and creativity and all of these sorts of things. And our building is beautiful inside, but there's a lot of things we could do to kind of push that idea, and that is a theological thing. That's not just we want it to look nice. That's communicating something to our community of the God that we worship. And so that's a really big deal for us as well.
Yeah, and another thing is, even in our current budget, we have kind of line items set aside for like missions. We want to expand. Right now we partner with 2 overseas missionaries, and we want to expand that. We want to be able to take our youth and adults on, strategic mission trips where we could go. Like, it would be wonderful to go visit one of our missionaries. We just can't afford to do that, and increasing funds in the church budget to be able to do that would be massively important. Not only we could bring on new missionaries if the Lord wanted us to do that. And so right now we're just pretty limited in what we're able to do as far as reach and investing in those things.
Yeah. I think the other thing too on that one is what you're listening to right now. Like, we've done a great job. The Scotts here have done a great job of setting up this studio, and Bethany does a great job of producing it and all that sort of stuff. But we want to make it better. And there's even more things in kind of that media kind of realm in which we would like to do. We've found that doing this sort of thing helps us educate our church better. And to do that well, we want to do stuff with excellence. One of the ways we always put it is appropriate excellence. We want to do it appropriately but excellently, where we could produce more media, more videos, more training, more equipping for our people, so that when they drive to work, they have something better than, I don't know, whatever they listen to now. And, and I've heard from so many people that they enjoy this podcast, and they listen to it regularly and they look forward to it. And so I was like, man, it'd be a great blessing to our church if we could really step up even how we're doing this. And I think it's important for our church to know as well that we didn't intend this kind of podcast or online presence to be something that was for other pastors in the state or even further. But we get a lot of messages from people who are reaching out to us going, hey, I listened to this thing, or I read this thing, and can you guys help us? And we love the church. At the end of the day, we're church planters. We love seeing good churches thrive. And so if we can be a tool to even help out in that, particularly within our state, and even this studio, I think it's important to know that we've been letting another church planter actually come up here and record stuff in here. And we would love to kind of open that up more to people where they can have a space to do that and help other good churches do the sorts of things that we're doing.
Yeah, or even thinking about, prior to 2020, we used to give out weekly bulletins at church. Maybe some of you remember those days. And we don't do that anymore. Part of it's because, like, everybody switched like QR codes, which is so funny because, like, when we planted back in 2011, I remember QR codes being a thing, but nobody used them. And, like, if anybody invested in some kind of QR code technology, like, they made bank in 2020 because everybody switched to them, restaurants. But now you're seeing, restaurants and other services come back with paper stuff. And we'd love to explore what more print material would look like, and all that takes investment. And so we want to do that as well. One of the other things that flows out of the primary objective, which is all of us going to the Lord together, that includes coming to Advanced Commitment Night, coming to church, listening to the sermons, digging into the Word of God. But out of that flows kind of a secondary thing, which is paying down the church debt. As everyone at the Well Church knows, we partnered with a Christian ministry to get a renovation loan so that we could do the necessary renovations of the building, of which there were many, almost 2 or 3 times as many as we thought when we bought it.
Yep.
And so that took us taking on some debt. Talk to us about why it's so important that we pay down that debt.
Yeah, well, one, it's a lot of money going out every month. And the good news is we've actually paid down a lot of the debt. We've been aggressive in doing that. But what that does is, I think it's twofold. So if we think about it through the lens of kind of the tagline, life to the full, legacy to the end. So life to the full, like that's right here, right now. We are, all those things we just talked about, we're limited by basically what we can do ministry-wise because we pay so much out in debt service right now. Okay, that's just being really honest about it, and to free that up, it would just be massive for our church, right? Like all of a sudden, the budget is kind of there, but like operating in a surplus, and it allows us to be generous beyond even what we're already doing. It just helps us out. And then if I go to kind of legacy to the end, and this is where one of the things that I've hit on pretty hard in my sermons because I really do believe in it, and maybe it's because my birthday is coming up and I'm going to be approaching my mid 40s, and you start thinking about things down the road later in life, next generations, who's gonna be preaching when you and I are long gone. And what I want to do at this church with the remaining part of my hopefully 20, 30 years here, would be to continue doing and growing all the things that we have going, but really setting up the next generation to come into this church and be able to pursue ministry in the next phase of the Well Church, the future of it, so that like in 200 years from now, people look back at pictures, like I think of the picture of us on the first Sunday, and they go, these people laid a foundation and they set us up to win long term. And so you don't do that by saddling the next generation with a bunch of debt.
Right.
Our government could learn from this.
Yes, right? True.
But it's that idea of going like, man, wouldn't it be a great gig? Like imagine you coming out of seminary, right? And you're looking for a place and you're who you are and you're like, man, I'm a perfect fit for this church. And they're starting to look to hire a pastor to have a transition, all this stuff. And you get to come in and your focus is truly ministry.
Right.
It's not like this big financial burden. You don't have all this stuff. You get to come in and be free from a lot of that. That's what we want to set up. And we, in a sense, it's almost like leaving an inheritance for the next generation. Now, I know some boomers hate the idea of inheritances, but
guess, yeah.
It's one of those things where we want to do that. We want the next generation to be able to pursue everything that God's calling them to pursue with ease, but also excellence.
Yeah, that's great.
As much as possible.
Yeah, one question that I don't think we'll get to talk about too much, maybe we will during the series, is like, the secondary goal is for both the church life, eternal life, and then we'll talk about the ministry we're partnering with, All Things Possible. The total is $3.2 million.
Yeah.
For some people that may seem too high, too low, whatever. It's a number that, our elders prayed about, thought about, and calculated based on trends and needs and all that kind of stuff. But, for you, Matt, if somebody were to come in and they were to say, you know what, we're going to invest in the Well Church. We believe it's got a good strategy, good people. We're going to give the Well Church $10 million. What are 2 things you would want to do if we were freed up in that way? where would you want to invest? I've got some things in mind, but I wanted to put that on you and kind of let people know what we're dreaming about.
Oh man, my brain would be going. It is going a million miles an hour right now. I'm gonna start stuttering because my brain's too far ahead of where my mouth is. Well, I think the first thing we'd probably do is we'd pay off the building.
Sure.
Just be free. Like that's not fun though.
Yeah.
That's just paying a
Yeah,
bill.
assume that. Okay, assume that.
Okay, assumed. I would probably aggressively start looking at other church properties within our city and our county. And people be like, why? You got a building. And I shared a little bit of this on Sunday, so I won't get too far into it. But the idea that, one, acquiring a church property in Boulder County is very difficult. And usually the only people with enough money on hand to purchase them are not churches. And so we're seeing churches just go away. Now, sometimes we might even go, that's not a terrible thing, but it's very hard, if not impossible, to turn a church back into a church once it's left that. Like, it's very difficult to do those sorts of things. And so church buildings would be great for things like schools. They're great for churches, and we need more churches here. Like, we would be just fine with another, like, say it's a Presbyterian church that's just like us. We're Baptist at Presbyterian, or even another Baptist church. That'd be great too. We need more churches in our county, in our state, to be frank, to be here and to quite literally saturate the community with the gospel of Jesus Christ. So that would be a big one for me. Really start pursuing this idea of Christian education through our school, through our church, and what that looks like. And then, yeah, I think I would just double down really hard on kind of the media production element of our church.
Okay.
We'd get really dialed in there.
That's great. Yeah, I was going to say school, like if somebody was like, here's this money, what are you going to do with it? I'd be like, start a Christian school in Boulder, like day one. Find a property or that would be kind of crucial because rent is so high around here. Or try to figure out how we can retrofit our building into a school during the week, right? Something like that. And then get us offices off-site so we're not in the middle of a school.
Well, even like to think about it, like quite frankly, on Sunday we were pulling out folding chairs for our church. If there was another church in town that was bigger, we could utilize this building for a school.
Right.
Like there's you'd have a lot of options there. And I will say this, if anybody's listening and they can write that $10 million check,
right,
we do have a beat on a property right now that would be perfect.
Yes.
But we would need about $10 million to make that happen.
For sure.
If somebody wants to go ahead and write that check,
it'd be great.
I will give you my phone number. I'll give you my home address. I'll have you over for dinner, and we'll make that happen.
That's funny. The other thing I would do is start a seminary.
Yeah.
We've wanted to do that for a few years now, but
why? Like, explain to people why that's important.
Well, there's a huge interest in ministry from a younger generation that is looking for a seminary that's not, I'll just say it, just like not woke, you know, that's biblical, that's very Christian, conservative. And we don't have a lot of good options, if any, within 600 miles of Denver. So if guys in our church or guys in the state want to go to a good biblical seminary, it's really hard to recommend one. We have a couple of friends that have started a seminary. One of our speakers at Burn the Ships, Doug Ponder, they started a seminary. That model seems to be going really well. It's kind of a hybrid model. I'd love to do that here, start one locally. And that's going to take an investment, financial investment, because it costs a lot to run. But there's so many guys that approach us, and like I get the question at least twice a month, where should I be looking to go into seminary? Because so many guys are hungry for that kind of training, but they also are very aware that a lot of the seminaries are very compromised. And so starting a seminary in Colorado, based in Colorado, to train pastors for Colorado or other places, and then it kind of folding that into what we're already doing as pastors with church planting and equipping pastors and meeting with them and making it like a training hub for a lot of different activities that we're already doing. That would be such a blessing and a dream come true.
It'd be awesome. And going back to us talking about how God has seen it fit for whatever reason to give us a lot of connections and outsized influence, like our friends at Grimke, like we have a lot of people we can learn from or even potentially develop a partnership with to actually pull that off. That's not just like a pie in the sky idea. We actually have people that are very close to us that know how to do this.
Yeah.
And so like if people are thinking like, why money, all that kind of thing. Like, because the number one thing keeping us back from doing a lot of these things are financial reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And so funding a church like the Well that wants to keep doing these sorts of things is a great investment for people.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the third thing that we mentioned, which is All Things Possible Ministry. I mean, when you brought it up, because we're searching and praying for opportunities to partner with a ministry in Colorado, because we don't just want it to be about the Wells Kingdom impact, but the Kingdom impact in Colorado. It can be kind of challenging to partner with various Christian ministries. And, you've done this guy, Victor Marks, for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so specifically, we're partnering with the Protecting Children's Innocence Task Force. And that's something he started to equip, police departments and law enforcement, and design services for or to combat sex trafficking and online predators and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of attracted you to their ministry?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ministries out there that we could partner with, and they're doing great work. But I wanted something that had a local element to it. So their headquarters in Colorado Springs, but also they kind of spoke the language a little bit of the Well. Like we have kind of positioned ourselves, as I think churches should. It's kind of wild to say this, to really go like, hey, we want to push darkness back. We're not just kind of going to settle down and like build our walls and be like, we're safe now. We want to take ground. And by taking ground, that means defeating wickedness within our state and within our country. And it's kind of hard to find a ministry when you kind of talk about it that way that wants to partner with. And there are some, but a lot of them are really, really big. And when I'm thinking about what we would invest there, which our goal would be $200,000 over 2 years to them, they're a smaller ministry that's getting started. And All Things Possible has been around for a while, but the PCI task force is relatively new. $200,000 really moves the needle for an organization like that. It has a larger impact than if you sent $200,000 some giant organization. They're going to say thank you, maybe send you a plaque,
Sure.
That kind of thing. But really, this develops a real partnership between two organizations, and so it becomes more real. And so there's a lot of things going on there. But they launched their retreat center just outside of Colorado Springs, I believe, where they're bringing in law enforcement who have gone through really terrible things, and it's kind of like the word trauma is overused today, but people who have very real trauma that need to navigate this, but also train and become better equipped. That's like up and running already. And then like the other part of this is like, is quite literally like internationally, like they're taking care of children. There's a lot of good things going on there, but the PCI task force is designed particularly to equip law enforcement to stop predators from children. And so it engages the sex slave trade, things like that happen in our country and in our state. And if you can't rally behind that, as Victor says in his video, we're built different.
Sure.
And so for us, it's like that's something that just speaks kind of almost to the soul of who we are as a church.
Yeah.
And I get really excited about it. What about you?
No, like you said, I love that it's a long-standing relationship in terms of like you've done ministry with Victor before, and so it's just it feels very natural and appropriate for our church to partner with that particular ministry, and kind of gives our people a sense of like, yeah, we're investing in something that's very worthwhile, very important, that's very congruent with kind of the work we do as Christians in all of life already. And, I would be remiss with all of this. We still, as church planters, we have a heart for church planting. And one of the things we're hindered by right now is the focus on, we got to pay off the debt, is that we can't invest in church planting as much as we want to. Mm-hmm. We've planted 5 churches at this point, and we've got 2 other guys in the application pipeline phase. And we haven't been able to offer any of those churches kind of any kind of like gift financially.
Yeah.
You know, it's been training, it's good training, but we haven't been able to offer a gift. I think back of your days at Fellowship Associates at Fellowship Bible Church in Little Rock, and how they were able to give us a financial gift to invest in our church, and what a blessing that was to help us get off the ground. And I'd love to return that favor. The other thing that we'd love to be able to do, kind of, it fits within the church planning vein, is internships. You know, we have a great internship program that Pastor Derek has created, and we're going to continue. But what do you want in an internship? You don't just want to learn. You know, you're hoping to get compensated for work, and it costs money to come here to Boulder.
Yeah.
It's an expensive context. But investing in those interns would be huge. We would be able to recruit interns from a variety of places much easier if those interns were paid. And so things like that are things we're thinking about as pastors, like how can we enhance and bless not just the Well Church, but expand the kingdom reach of the Well Church by investing in people, in churches, in interns, and church plants, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think it's important to explain to people when they see that 3.2, they kind of go, it's a really big number for our church. And so when people say that to me, I'm like, I don't think it is.
Sure.
But that's kind of my disposition.
Yeah.
But the reason I feel so strongly about that and feel that way is that, one, our Father has all of the money.
Yep.
Right? Like, so he can bring whatever he wants. He could blow it out of the water, no problem. You know, and that's why it's so important for our people to be in prayer, to be committed to going before the Lord, to ask him what this looks like for them to be invitational during this season, bringing their families in. If they have family members who are like, man, I love what your church is doing there. I'd love to, if they've ever said something about how can I support what's happening there, this is it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and so there's a lot of opportunity there outside of even where people normally think. And so I'd encourage them to think a little bit more broadly. The other part, I think, is just the pragmatic thing. We're talking about over 2 years.
Right.
And so that first kind of bucket, which is church life, that's basically our budget over 2 years.
Right.
That's like, so like we need to meet our budget for 2 years.
Right.
And so everything else beyond that is the thing that's on top. And so that's why I think it's so doable. I think people need to understand this is stretched out over a time period so that everybody can participate. And everybody truly can. Like, I know my kids came home from youth group this week and they started their own 1010 initiative study. And there's like, you know, your commitment card that you got in your little notebook or journal, as I called it on Sunday. It has your commitment card in there. The kids are going to have their own commitment cards that are different. They're age appropriate for them. And so it's really kind of cultivating this thing. And if everybody's on board, when you look at the numbers, it's extremely doable.
Yeah.
Right. And it would be amazing if we could even just blow out of the water what we even imagined we were going to do during this time.
Amen. And part of the reason we want to put it on the podcast, we realize some people outside of our church listen to this. This is a great way to invest in what God is doing in our church in Boulder. And so we'd love to invite you into that. You can go to our website, find a lot of information about the 1010 initiative there. There's going to be an online commitment card if you wanted to make a commitment to invest in what God is doing here. We'd love your partnership in that. And hopefully, as the Lord allows, maybe in a few months, this podcast studio may look a little different, you know, and, you know, we dream of being able to not have to squeeze a guest in between us.
It's really awkward.
And have a table in here or enhance it. But we'd love your partnership if we've blessed you in any way. And reach out with any questions. But we got exciting things coming up. Like I said, November 7th, 6 p.m., Advanced Commitment Night. Be there. Everyone's invited. Going to be a great night of worship. And then November 16th is our Commitment Sunday, which is going to also be a great Sunday, not only because it's Pastor Matt's birthday,
yes,
but it's going to be a great Sunday of celebration to celebrate God's generosity to us.
Yeah, and just as a reminder, before you go, if you are attending in service, I'd encourage you to bring your book every week. Bring it every week. There's the notes section where you can take notes, and then there's questions for groups. And if you want to get in a group, this is a great time for you to do that, right, Chase?
That's right.
You oversee that. So,
yeah.
This would be a great time for you to get connected in our church as well.
Absolutely. Well, that's it for the episode today. Hopefully this was helpful in explaining some things going on at the Life of the Well Church. As always, you can go to boulderwell.org to find more information. You can find more information about the 1010 initiative there as well. We'd love to see you on a Sunday. We meet at 9:30 on Sundays at 300 South Broadway. We'll see you next time.